All right, to Algebra 2, this is the second half of section 9.3, which is trig functions. They start us off, we are on the, I think, second page. Start us off by talking about what a reference angle is, okay? So, a reference angle, I'm going to go back to talking about those bow ties that we were doing in the last video. So let's say I have an angle that's here in this first quadrant, okay? Your reference angle is going to be this guy right here, okay? Let's say instead, if I have an angle that starts here and goes into the second quadrant, so it's like this angle right here, okay? What I would do then is I would make, part of my bow tie out of that, and I would connect him back down to make this triangle, kind of like you were trained to do. And this angle is going to be my reference angle, okay? So imagine that if this is like 120 degrees, let's say, okay? We would be trying to figure out not this 120 degrees, but we would be trying to figure out what this angle is, okay? And so that's going to kind of involve thinking about, okay, what would it be from here all the way around to the other line, okay? Well, that's a complete 180 degree flip, right? So if I'm only looking at going 120 degrees, okay, 180 minus 120 is actually 60 degrees, and 60 degrees will be this reference angle here, okay? If I'm looking at an angle in the third quadrant, I'm just going to keep going down, third quadrant here, okay, would be like this guy here, all right? So from here all the way around, I would be trying to figure out what this angle is, okay, because we connect him and we make the bottom half of our left side of our bow tie. So let's say that this angle right here is 200 degrees, okay, 200 degrees. If I'm looking at from here to here being 200, I kind of also take into consideration that from here to here is 180, okay, but I'm going a little bit past that. If this is 180 degrees and I'm going to 200 degrees, what would this have to be here to make me the rest of the way to the 200 degree mark, okay? So that would involve 200 minus 180, and that would be 20 degrees. So my reference angle here is going to be that 20 degree angle, okay? And the last one, if let's say I have an angle going from here all the way around into the fourth quadrant, okay? I'm going to make a right triangle out of him, and I'm trying to find what this angle would be, okay? So let's say that this angle that they give to me is, I don't know, 300 degrees. Okay, 300 degrees. The full circle would be 360, okay, but I'm only going 300 degrees from here to here. So think about what this angle would have to be in order to get me the rest of the way to the 360, okay? It would be kind of like taking 360 and subtracting 300. And that would give me a 60 degree reference angle. So this angle right here is going to be 60 degrees, okay? Now your reference angle is never going to be a negative angle. It's just finding this little part of your triangle. Your reference angle will never be greater than 90 degrees either. So it'll never be negative. It'll never be an angle bigger than 90 degrees, okay? So they want us to sketch this angle 210, okay? So we're starting here. Because we're in standard position, we would start there, and we go around to 210 degrees, okay? So up here, if I would go from here to here, this would be a 90 degree angle, okay? If I go from here to here, this would be a 180 degree angle. If I would go all the way to the bottom here, this is 270, this would be 360. So I'm wanting to go 210, okay? So I'm going to stop a little bit past the 180 mark because 210 is going to live in between 180 and 270. So I have this kind of large angle going on here from here all the way around to here. That's 210 degrees. Okay, so then I just need to make my triangle out of that. Okay, and my triangle is going to be part of the bow tie over here. Okay, this bow tie, and I'm looking to see what this angle is. Okay. So we know that from here around to here is 180 degrees, right? So how much further do I need to go in order to get to 210 degrees? Like what would this angle be right here? That would have to get me all the way to 210. It would be like taking 210 and subtracting 180 degrees, and I'm going to get 30 degrees. So my reference angle is going to be 30 degrees, okay? That's just this little part right here that gets me the rest of the way, okay? All right, next one, negative 5 pi over 4. What in the heck are they trying to do there, okay? I don't like dealing with stuff in radians because this is a radian measure. Radians, okay? And so I would much rather deal with stuff that's in degrees. So think back into, I don't know, section 9.2 or whatever, maybe 9.1, I don't know, where we switched from radians to degrees. We have negative 5 pi over 4, and I want to know how many degrees that is, okay? So it's either going to involve in multiplying by pi over 180 or 180 over pi. If I want to switch him to degrees, we have to either multiply by pi over 180 or 180 over pi. Okay, so now which one am I going to use? I want the pi's to cancel out here. So this pi, I'll have to have a pi here on the bottom, which means I'm going to do 180 over pi. Okay, otherwise the pi's won't cancel. If there's two pi's on the top, the pi's won't cancel. But if there's a pi here and a pi here, then they will. Okay, and then I can also do this. 4 and 180 will cross out. Okay, 180 divided by 4 is, I think, 45. Yeah, 45 degrees. Okay, so what I want to do then is I have negative 5 on the top times 45, which is going to be, I think, 215. Let me check. 5 times 45. No, 225, not 215, 225. 225 degrees. Okay, so I have a negative 225 degree angle. Okay, that's what I'm dealing with here. All right, so negative means I'm going to start here, and I'm going to go clockwise instead of counterclockwise. So if I go from here to here, this would be 90 degrees. Okay, from here to here, this would be 180 degrees. Okay, from here to here, this would be 270, and again, all the way around would be 360. Okay, but I want to go 225. Okay, so 225 is going to be up here, somewhere in between 180 and 270. Okay, that's negative because I'm going the opposite direction, but this would be my negative 225, this angle right here. Okay, and if I make him into a triangle, I want to figure out what this reference angle is right here in this corner. Okay, so from here all the way around to here is 180 degrees, but I want to go a little bit more than that to go to 225 degrees. So think about how much more would I have to go in order to be 225 degrees. It would be like taking 225 and subtracting 180, and that's going to give me 45 degrees. Okay, that's going to be my reference angle. So that's how big this guy is right here. Okay, all right, now they give us some more information down here where they talk about the different quadrants. Okay, so quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. Okay, and they're talking about sine, cosine, and tangent, and then their significant others here. Okay, and there are patterns for sine, cosine, and tangent. In that, in the first quadrant, sine, cosine, and tangent are all going to be positive numbers. Okay. Sine, we learn in trig class that sine corresponds to the y coordinates and cosine corresponds to the x coordinates. So like if you have a number or a dot in the first quadrant, like up here, maybe this is the point 6, 8, I don't know. Both of those are positive, okay, which means that both sine and cosine are going to be positive, okay. Well, in the second quadrant, sine is y, cosine is x, just like in the first quadrant, but a point up here might be the point negative 6, 8, right? So the x coordinate is negative, like what cosine is, right? And the y coordinate is positive, like what sine is, okay? And then tangent is negative as well, okay? So sine, cosine, tangent are positive, negative, negative, okay? In the third quadrant, okay, let's say I have this point right here. This would be the point negative 6, negative 8. Okay, in the third quadrant, if I take that same point and move in, negative 6, negative 8. both the x and the y are going to be negatives. So negative, negative, should be an x right there. Okay, both of them are negatives, and then tangent is actually positive here. Okay, and then in the fourth quadrant, I have this point. This would be the point 6, negative 8. Okay, and in that case, the x coordinate is going to be positive. That's what cosine is. And the y coordinate is going to be negative. That's what sine is. Okay, and then tangent is negative also. Okay, so that was really a lot of information to pack at you at one shot, but that's kind of how things boil down. If it lives in the first quadrant and you're dealing with sine, it's going to be positive. If it lives in the third quadrant and you're dealing with cosine, it's going to be a negative number. Okay, and that's kind of how you read this chart going on here, right? Then what they've done here is they've given us some really nice trig functions, 30, 60, and 45 degree angles, and they have written out what each one of those is at that point. Okay, so sine of 30 degrees, you don't have to plug it into your calculator. You can if you want to. Sine of 30 degrees would be 0.5 or 1/2. They're just giving you that angle. If you take sine of 45 degrees, your calculator will probably come out with a decimal, but it's actually the square root of 2 over 2. Okay, sine of 60 degrees is the square root of 3 over 2, etc. Right? You would go all the way through here. So this is cosine of that 30, 45, and 60. This is tangent of that 30, 45, and 60, and etc. Right? Okay. So how is this going to play out? What are they going to have us do? They say find the exact value of each trig function. So they're wanting us to do cosine of 240 degrees. Okay, so let's figure out where 240 lives exactly. Okay, so think about what quadrant 240 would live in. Here's quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. Okay, if here to here is 90, here to here is 180, all the way down here would be 270. Okay, 240 is going to stop me in the third quadrant, and he's going to be here. Okay, now if I make a triangle out of him, let's figure out his reference angle. Okay, so this angle right here, what would that angle have to be for this little small triangle? I know that from here to here is 180, right? From here all the way around to the opposite side is 180, but I'm wanting to go a little bit past that, okay, because I want to go all the way down to 240. Okay, so how much more would I need to go if I'm trying to get to 240? It would be like taking 240 and subtracting 180. Okay, all right, and that would give me 60 degrees. Okay, so 60 degrees is going to be my reference angle, right? Okay, but now cosine of 240 is going to be kind of like cosine of 60 degrees. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is cosine of 60 degrees. I'm going to go back over to this other side, and I'm going to look at this chart down here at the bottom. Okay, cosine of 60 degrees. Right here. Cosine of 60 is 1/2. Except, since we are in the third quadrant here, cosine is negative. Okay, so my actual value would be negative 1/2. Okay, because I'm in the third quadrant, and because cosine of 60 degrees is 1/2, he would end up being negative 1/2. So that's what the exact value of cosine of 240, exact value of cosine of 240, that's what he would be. Okay, negative 1/2, right? Now, last one, we're going to skip example 5 so you can cross them out. Part B, cosecant of 5 pi over 6. Okay, 5 pi over 6, let's switch him. Okay, so I'm either going to use pi over 180 or 180 over pi. I want the pi's to cross out, so I'm going to put pi on the bottom and 180 on the top. Okay, so the pi's are going to cross out, and then 6 and 180, I can reduce those. So 6 goes in there once. 180 divided by 6, or 18 divided by 6. 18 divided by 6 is 3. So 180 divided by 6 is going to be 30. Okay, so really I have 5 times 30, which is 150 degrees. Okay, all right, now let's draw out what he looks like. So I start here. From here to here would be 90 degrees. Okay, from here to here would be 180 degrees, but I want 150. I want to stop a little bit shy of the 180 degrees. So I'm going to be over here somewhere here, and this is going to be 150 degrees. Okay, so I'm looking at, again, I make a bow tie. So here's the part of my bow tie, and I need to figure out what this angle is here at the bottom. I'm only going from here to here is 150. Okay, I do know that from here all the way around to the bottom here is 180. Okay, but I'm only going 150, right? So how far or how much more would I need to go in order to get to 180 degrees? Okay, so it's kind of like taking 180 and subtracting 150, and that would give me 30 degrees. Okay, that's what my reference angle is going to be. Okay, so I want to find cosecant of 30 degrees. Okay, I'm going to go back over to my little flip chart here. Cosecant is this guy, and cosecant of 30 degrees is 2. Okay, now let's look for cosecant in the second quadrant. Okay, because we're in the second quadrant. Cosecant is this first one. Okay, so am I going to have a positive 2 or am I going to have a negative 2? Okay, since cosecant is with sign, they're both positive, so this guy is going to be a positive 2. And then I can conclude that cosecant of 5 pi over 6 is positive 2, and that's what my value is going to be. Okay? All right, so lots of patterns going on here of how angles work out, but yeah, just kind of follow along with the charts and remember how you convert from radians to degrees, and that's all you will need. All right.